Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. We are not meeting right now. We're getting closer, so call us if you want to attend, 612-315-6778. We do the philosophy of eschatology every week. We try to. What you need to know, your reality, your existence, what's going on. Try not to be disparate. We're Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship, and this is our review of what's going on between Russia and Turkey and the Ukraine. Why now? What's going on in terms of time frames? And is there going to be a war? So every week I watch Monty Judah, who is a Messianic figure, talk about war because he comes from a military background and he's always predicting war, 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 war. Well, we haven't seen it for a long, long time in the Middle East. So the main thing is Jared Kushner's been working on peace in the Middle East, and now Trump is out of office, so Biden's in there. Jared Kushner's comment is that Biden's in a good situation because he has a relationship with Iran, and that might help to be able to. The more you talk to Iran, the more you drive some of the other Arab parties together with the United States and Israel into a peace agreement. So we'll see what happens as a result of this. Netanyahu came out last week, and this is why I'm doing the video. Netanyahu came out and said, we have 4 more peace deals coming soon. And so he said, I brought 4 peace agreements, and there are 4 more on the way. Well, I think God had a hand in this, and I think God will have a hand in his election coming up this Tuesday. So it's on Nisan 10, which is interesting. That's the day you inspect your lambs for Passover, and that's going to be the day they inspect their prime minister in Israel. So it's very, very intriguing. All of these things that are coming together. Does it mean that Yeshua is coming in 7 years? I don't know. But I know that things are very interesting. And my prophetic experts that I talk to all the time are saying, Joel, things are heating up going into Passover. So here it is, Netanyahu comes back and promises direct flights to Saudi Arabia, and that's just March 20th here, so that's fairly fresh. So is Saudi Arabia going to be Abrahamic Accord number 9 or 10, based on what Jared Kushner started to do? And so the Saudis are involved in this because the Saudis want to kick Jordan off the Temple Mount. They really want it to be a place of peace. And so they don't like the way Jordan is running things. They don't like the craziness. They don't want to send people over the Temple Mount and have them screamed out and rocks thrown at them and things like that. And so Saudi Arabia wants to push Jordan out of this. They already control Mecca and Medina, and so they're the 2 holiest sites in Islam. And Saudi Arabia would like to get control of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Temple Mount and work with Israel and really form a relationship between the 2 of them. So this is very, very interesting. So this is according to Hal Turner. This is what else is going on. Hal's the only guy talking about it, but Russia wants to control oil and the Hagia Sophia, which is right at that arrow there in Istanbul, okay? And so it's on the European side, so to speak, of that of that peninsula, we'll call it, cutting through there. So it's a choke point, and Russia's already claimed Sevastopol, which is that area. Oh, I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but anyway, Russia is working on fomenting kind of a revolution within the Ukraine and taking over 2 areas, Luhansk and Donetsk. And so they would want those to come over in addition to Sevastopol and Crimea. That's it. That's the region there, that island type region of the Ukraine that they already claimed in 2014. And they claimed it just a moment prior to the Blood Moon Eclipse tetrad of 2014-2015. And I think that's a meaning there, people. That gives us meaning to that particular tetrad. So we're kind of sewing together some loose ends here. As Hal Turner tells us, the Ukraine is ready to fight against Russia, which is crazy. I mean, that's a death wish. And I think Russia wants to keep on going through, and they want to take over the Hagia Sophia. They are angry that Turkey has claimed it as their own, as a mosque again. So once again, this is from Hal Turner, and this is the 21st of March, so this is very, very fresh. The Russian troops and their army and their tanks are moving into Donetsk and Luhansk in the Ukraine, and they want to take those. Okay, so if you live in the Ukraine right now and you speak Russian, I think you'd rather be with Russia, and so we'll see what happens. This is very, very interesting. I stated on the bottom here, this is a death wish. If Ukraine wants to fight against Russia, this is not going to go well. It'll end quickly and horribly for them. So we'll see what happens. And once again, on Nissan 10, you're going to see the election in Israel, and we'll see if Netanyahu wins again. And also, just wanted to mention to you that Turkey's involved in this. They have airstrikes going into Syria right now. First time that they've shot airstrikes in 17 months. So the world is kind of busy right now. And with the polling going on, we'll see what happens on, now that would be Nissan 10, but that's the 23rd of March coming up here. So it shows you on the Jewish calendar here. And then Passover starts this weekend, depending upon the day that you want to start. Traditionally, it would be Saturday night, but some of us will be celebrating Sunday night. I think that's when my group will be meeting. So, as always, we are doing the philosophy of the end of days. We're trying not to twist the Bible. We're trying not to give you fake prophecy. We're trying to give you the real news. We're going to start out with the blood moons again, just so you can see this is what causes a blood moon. So this is why they are red. So the blue light is scattered by the Earth's atmosphere, and then you see that red light is refracted, passes through the atmosphere, and falls onto the moon, and that gives you that blood moon. And Joel talks about it in Joel 2. The sun will turn into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. So, and we see that also in Revelation 6, and we see it in other places too. We see this moon into blood occurring, and it's happened a bunch of times over history. So this guy cites 162, 163 AD, 795, 796, and right on down the line. The big ones are 1493, 1494, 1949, 1950, 1967, 68, and 2014 and 2015. And not all of them have meaning, so we'll kind of discuss it a little bit, and I think they have meaning relating to Hagia Sophia, that east-west fight that's always been going on since the last 2,000 years. So once again, here's the list. This particular person cites 32 to 33, and some people are stating that that is when Yeshua was crucified, and I would argue no, that's probably when Stephen was martyred. And so according to the source that I just cited, he's saying in 162, 163, the fourth of the 10 great martyr plagues occurred. Charlemagne in 795 walls out the Muslims. Then 842, the end of Theophilus and Philos, sorry. And then the caliph's reign ends in 842. That's very interesting here. The Byzantine schism starts to begin in 860, 861. Columbus there discovers the new Jewish home in 1493, 1904. 1539, 1540, that's an unknown eclipse tetrad on the correct days. It's not a blood moon, but Suleiman the Magnificent rebuilds the walls of Jerusalem. Then there's 49 and 50 and 67, 68, and then 2014, 2015, I'm arguing it's Russia prowling towards Syria and towards Israel ultimately. So just interesting how this factors into the time frames, and I think that gives us meaning now to these blood moon eclipses. So what I want to show you is the 536 was the worst year ever, and the worst emperor for that time was Justinian I. He was the last Roman, and so basically there was a volcano in Iceland that descended over Europe, and there was 18 months of no sun, okay, and the ice age for a decade. And the plague of Justinian occurred during that time frame, interestingly enough. And it's attributed to him, and I think it's attributed to his Code of Justinian in 528 and his brutal treatment of the Jews. So you get what you deserve. So he also built the Hagia Sophia just about that same time. So 532 to 537, he built that. And that is the plum that Putin wants to gather. And there it is right on the red side of Constantinople and basically in the Ottoman Empire there. Okay, so the city of Constantinople was formed by Constantine I in 324. And he was an evil, wicked man, never believed in Jesus or God or anything like that, but he was smart enough to put together a coalition, and so he gets credit for the Bible and other things like that, but wicked man. And then it moves forward building this, and my citation is that yes, he died in 565, and he hated the Jews. But the pattern was based on 70 AD to 560, because many things changed to 560, and it really kind of controlled him. He didn't really win a war or lose a war, but he had to pay tributes, and the son didn't pay it after 565. So anyway, then there was the great schism of 1053, but it was happening because of this horrible man. This is Pope Benedict, and he reigned from 1032 to 1048, but he reigned 3 different times, and he really caused the schism because he was a thoroughly wicked man, and he caused the East splitting from the West. And I argue that Justinian I was the last Iron Roman emperor, and this was the split of the legs, the silver area, or would that be bronze? Let's see, bronze, iron, bronze, silver. Yeah, bronze it would have been. So that's the split. And here's the split again. The schism officially occurred in 1053, but I cite 1050 because it was occurring, for 200 years. And it shows all the activities during the Crusades after that. And really, what happened is that you had the schism, and that caused the Crusades. It's just interesting to cite that. What causes what. And basically Spain was taken over. They became an Islamic territory, and there were many campaigns that went up into Europe, and Europe almost became Muslim, almost. So then Rabbi Judah ben Samuel, he prophesied in 1217 that there would be the last 10 Jubilees. And so I want you to fit this into the pattern. He's a very pious man, and his burning desire was awaiting the coming of the Messiah. And he said that he talked to Eliyahu, the prophet, and he said that Eliyahu will precede the Messiah, appeared to me and revealed many things to me, and emphasized the precondition for answered prayer is that it is fueled by enthusiasm and joy for the greatness and holiness of God. So here's his 10 last Jubilees. 1217 he dies, and that kicks off 300 years, which is basically 6 Jubilees. Until 1517, then 400 years, which is 8 Jubilees, and that goes until 1917, when the Ottoman Turks lose Jerusalem, and then the no man's land until 1967, and then we were supposed to kick things off in 2017, but we are still here and not doing anything. So it's, again, this talks about Judah ben Samuel and wonderful things about him. And so then here's his prophecy off to the right-hand side. And that's Allenby at the end of it in 1917, walking into Jerusalem. Allah Ha-Navi is General Allenby, and so the Muslims, the Arabs, thought that he was actually Allah Ha-Navi, so they thought he was a prophet, so they were afraid of him, and so they didn't fight him. So when the Ottoman Turks were already a power to be reckoned with in the Bosphorus, and the Bosphorus is that region, that isthmus area there, between the east and the west in Turkey, in the time of Judah ben Samuel. Then when they conquered Jerusalem in 1517, they will rule over Jerusalem for 8 Jubilees until 1917. Afterwards, Jerusalem will be a no man's land for 1 Jubilee until 1967. And then in the 9th Jubilee, 2017, it will once again come back into the possession of the Jewish nation, which would signify the beginning of the Messianic end time. Interesting. Now, I want to cite this also so you can fit this into your overall patterns, that Suleiman the Magnificent was chased by lions in his dreams from about 1535 to 1536. So he turned around and asked them, what do they want? And they said, send money and men down to Jerusalem to rebuild the streets and the walls. So, according to my friend Josh Elsom, there were eclipses marking these feast days in also in 2014, 2015. But this was going on in 1539 and 1540. And so he cites the exact dates, and it coincides with Mark Bilt's discoveries. So this is from 2008, 2009 with Josh. It's just intriguing to see this other Jubilee that nobody knows about that kicked out. So basically, once again, 70 AD to 560 to 1050 to 1540 to 2030. These are 490-year sequences, patterns. And here it is, another pattern that's interesting that relates to this whole overall thing that I'm talking about. And this is Vilna Gaon. So his Russia prophecy is when you hear that the Russians have captured the city of Crimea, you should know that the times of the Messiah have started, that his steps are being heard. And when you hear that the Russians have reached the city of Constantinople, so that is today's Istanbul, and that is where the Hagia Sophia is, you should put on your Shabbos clothes and don't take them off, because it means that Messiah is about to come any minute. So that's the Vilna Gaon. He lived to be 77, which is an important age, okay, and from 1720 to 1797. And so I'm arguing that Russia has been pushing south towards Syria since about 2000. Its goal has been to create a pipeline from Russia to Europe through Syria. So it's money, okay, but it's also the Hagia Sophia. Russia joined Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad in a civil war in October 2011. Russia needed to push Ukraine out of the way after that, so Russia invaded Crimea as Nissan started in 2014. So as the Blood Moon sequence kicked off, Russia was right there at the doorstep, okay, in Crimea, and then moving forward, okay, and I think that's huge. That's prophetic, okay. So that was the first Blood Moon eclipse of the tetrad, and the other Russian goal was to liberate the Hagia Sophia from Turkey. So at some point in time, they will go down there and liberate it, because that is a goal, because they're Eastern Orthodox, and that's their main building. Then you move forward in the pattern towards 1967, the Jubilee Year, I argue, Six-Day War. Golda Meir and Moshe Dayan were involved in that, and they handed the Temple Mount back, which then now brings us to the next tetrad, but Jubilee Year, which was December 6th of 2017. Trump ordered that Jerusalem was the capital of Israel and the embassy would be moved there. So it's very interesting. You see these Jubilee timeframes, 1917, 1967, 2017. You could argue 1867 because the city of David was discovered officially by Lieutenant Charles Warren back then, and he found all the watercourses too. So it's just interesting. Is it a Jubilee year? I don't know. You had those interesting crisscrosses across America, once in August 21st of 2017 and coming back again April 8th of 2024. Is it a Jubilee year? Who knows? But this is from Leviticus. You know, you go out 49 years, and then the 50th year is that Jubilee year. So is 2017 that year? And why didn't anything significant happen? And so I don't know, but I wanted to put it out as food for thought, just to have you see this. And then this is interesting. So this is from CBN, talking about if 2017 is really the start of the Jubilee year. And then this is a commentary from a Hasidic site, from Efren Gamboa, about, he thinks that the year 5997 is the year of 2017. So Jewish years of 6,000 years. He says that 5997 was indeed the correct date for 2017, and that he's arguing that it's going to change. And so he's saying basically that now we should be there at about 6,000 years. So we're really, really, really close, okay? Not 5779 or 5781 or anything like that. He's arguing that we're probably 6,000 right now, okay? That's just his opinion. But I'm not going to argue with him. So once again, here's the site if you want to look at it. So this is when is the next Jubilee year on the Chabad site by Baruch Davidson. And you can check out his comments if you'd like to. So when are we going to start the birth pangs? I believe we're in them right now. When will the tribulation start? I don't know. And don't ask me when. I don't know. When's the Great Tribulation? Well, that's the last 3.5 years. So when will they start? I don't know, but we're moving along through those things. I believe that the civil wars will brew, and that's based on ethnos versus ethnos, which is Matthew 24, okay? Ethnos, epi, ethnos, I believe it is. Peace treaties will increase. So that's the Abraham Accord. Deaths will hit 1.9444 billion. The Pope has already met in Babylon, and we see that he described himself as one step away from being a heretic there. Then the Pope will force the Babylonian faith upon the world. Then the Antichrist will take it away from him. He's just biding his time. He's doing nothing right now. Persecution will increase against believers, but that'll bring lots of conversions, and then martyrdom becomes the norm. Yeshua returns, but in the meantime, there's going to be lots of curveballs. There's going to be a lot of things. You'll expect earthquakes, battles, wars, pestilence, drought. Those are the Matthew 24 birth pangs. I believe they're the seals, and they go from west to east to north, and then to south, which would be seal number 4, with all that death caused by basically Ramphea, which is the sword, Limos, which is drought, basically, Thanatos, which is death, which is the name of that particular rider, and then Therion, which could be COVID-19, could be. Then seal 5 is martyrdom, seal 6 is survivable. What we need to do is get our garments clean because it's a wedding. It's going to be based on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot, the fall festivals. So that should be the end of my video, and thank you very much for your time, and be blessed, and watch events and celebrate Passover. We should do that. Amen.